Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Real Estate Talk. You already know the gang. So today we're going to talk about something that is really up and coming and exciting to me, secondary suite conversion. So from what I understand, and I mean by all, you always need to check with the city. You always need to make sure that you're actually allowed to do this. But from what I have heard, you can add a secondary dwelling to any property as long as it's not within the floodplains of London. Heritage as well, of course. So I'm going to throw this over to Bruce, and then we're going to really talk about this because I really think this could be the biggest trend up and coming when you talk about seniors, when you talk about children. I mean, kids nowadays, 20, 25, they can't buy a house like you used to be able to because now they're 400,000 versus the 100 that the older people were paying. So the aging parents, especially with what happened with COVID, maybe you don't want them going in long term. So I think this is a really incredible option. And I mean, if you can add on an addition for $150,000, where are you going to find a place that's brand new for that kind of money? So I'm going to throw it over to Bruce, and I'm excited to cover this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the legalities of that. My understanding that is if there's a common area shared, then you don't have to have the area license. But if you're a separate entrance, if you're going to use rental income, you have to be zoned for it. So, the city would have to allow, zoning amendment to have a secondary suite. And then, of course, you're into the renovations, all have to comply with building code. So, and again, that's not my area of expertise, but, the drywall needs to be a certain thickness. You have to have, all things done to code. So I think there's two conversions. Is this a conversion just for your own personal use, or is this a conversion and you're going to rent it out as a secondary suite? So I think that's important because it might determine what you do. But the way I see it, I think Mark hit it. You're looking at, I think, moving forward, multi-generational people living in the same house. With COVID, it sort of brought the attention that you don't want to be putting mom into a retirement home anymore. So mom, if mom's going to stay with you, you need a place to have mom. And or the children simply aren't going to make enough money to be able to afford their own place, so they're going to be staying with you longer. So I think we're going to see a trend towards multi-generational families living in the same location, and that's going to require conversions of basements into secondary suites, or even talk of putting secondary homes on properties. Now again, that gets into a financing issue that creates again a lot of issues from a financing perspective because lenders don't like multiple families living in multiple buildings on a single lot. So that creates another problem. So for me, I would be checking your zoning, checking your building code, and making sure if you plan a secondary suite conversion, you do it to suit the needs of what you have planned for that property.
Always make sure it's permitted and approved because the last thing you want is the building inspector to come in halfway through the project and say it's time to take it down. So again, I mean, from what Bruce is saying, what I've been saying, I agree with the fact you need to make sure that it's zoned, but from what I've heard, it's a certain amount of bedrooms. And again, always check with planning and approvals, but from what I've heard, if you are zoned up to 5 to 7 bedrooms, you can add a secondary suite, and it can be that many bedrooms in total between the two units. So I don't know. I think this is something, again, like it has a very big upside, and I know builders right now are adding a lot of secondary suites because of the same issues. So I think this is one that you're playing with the trends, and if you're paying attention, I mean, aging population, the baby boomers is going to be one of the biggest markets for the next 15 years, and as well, those kids that can't buy houses, they don't want to live with mom and dad, and let's be honest, I don't want my kids to live with me at 25 years old, but maybe I can stuff them in the basement with a second door.
So I'll put in a couple of words here in terms of seniors and retirement and long-term care industries. With my background, there's definitely a 3 to 4 year wait list for long-term care homes depending on where you're going to go. And many people don't know, but they give you a choice. The nurse comes and assesses your mom or dad. They give you a choice of 5 homes, and they say, okay, pick your 5 choices or pick 5 homes, and not necessarily are you going to get your number one choice. Mm-hmm. Not only that, with COVID recently, we've learned that 60 or 70% of the homes don't have the funding requirements through the government and programs in place to be able to go from 4 beds in a room, which is a ward, to the 2 beds in a room, let alone a private. And then it comes down to funding, and can you afford to subsidize, or can you afford to top up those payments for your loved one, for your mom and dad, knowing that long-term care retirement home is not a sexy industry. People don't want to work there. And so we're going to keep them at home. And there's a cultural aspect that comes into it as well, because I know in my culture, we take our mom or dad in and we have to actually take care of them, and we're brought up that way. So looking from my perspective as putting on a secondary dwelling, this is going to be something that's up and developing. I know in Calgary and Alberta, there's quite a few projects that have gone up where the kids and the mom and dad are actually living side by side or in 2 units on one property. And I know that there's just a development I saw off on Sunningdale there, where a farmer actually built a secondary dwelling and put an overpass for their mom or dad, which is incredible, because I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing to go on your point, you hit the nail on the head, it's the cost. Long-term care is very expensive, right? You can only have so many years where you have the money to sustain that, right? So that's got to be something that's factored in as well. It's a lot cheaper to live with your kids or have your parents live with you and make sure that they're taken care of. And just what you said with COVID too, I mean, it's very scary to have mom and dad or somebody in long-term care, and you can't even see them right now, right? You literally can't even see them.
You're absolutely right, Mark. So one thing I will put in is that people think long-term care homes are funded. The nursing component is funded by the government of what care mom or dad are going to get, but there's the accommodation envelope where, depending on if you're a private, semi-private, or ward, it's actually mom or dad that are going to be paying based on their income and based on their taxes. Now we go to retirement homes, completely private, no subsidization whatsoever in place. So we're talking anywhere from, $2,000 up to, and I've seen homes in Toronto at $13,000 a month. Now you're talking those big dollars, and in London you're looking at the Amicas and the Chartwells. We're talking averages of $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Now you have an a la carte of services, so there's additions to add on. That's going to drain, in a sense, your sort of nest egg for retirement.
Yeah, I just think because of the demographics, the situation is going to get worse. So like Mark said, I think the builders are going to start, and I know they have a time lag in terms of the current builds, but I think future builds, you're going to see a lot with granny suites just to accommodate elderly parents.
Okay, so I think we'll end it there, and any questions, as always, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching this episode.